G'day. For those that don't know who I am, Les Power is my name. I'm the founder of The Will of Australians. The reason I've called it The Will of Australians is because our nation and our people are in trouble, serious trouble. Indeed, the world is in trouble, we all know that. But Australia's got its unique problems, and whilst I know other people that are trying to do some amazing, beautiful work to try and get Australia, to save Australia and get Australia back on track, it is my contention that there is only one thing that will get us back on track, irregardless of anything else, and that is the will of the Australian people. We are a democracy, and democracy, if you look at your dictionary, it says government by the people. Majority rules. The majority is sitting on its backside at the moment, clapping the table, moaning and groaning and saying, why is all these things happening to us? Notwithstanding the coronavirus, which is a terrible thing in itself. But as I said, it is only the will of the Australian people that can save us. I'll leave it at that. You've got your own views, I'm sure. Now, if I said to you, for example, the whole world is in trouble, including Australia, and unless we, the silent majority, get up and do something, which I have a plan, it's taken me several years to work it out, it is constitutional, it is legal, it is peaceful, and it will work, and it's secure as far as you're concerned. If I said that I have this plan because, and I set out the problem, would you believe me? If I said, for example, Australia as we know it, unless we do something serious about it, Australia as we know it will cease to exist for all time. Would you believe me? If the most powerful man in the world said it, President Donald Trump, would you believe him? Did I now show you the video from the most powerful man in the world, President Donald Trump?
US President Donald Trump finally spoke up. He did not pull any punches on the great evil that we have repeatedly been talking about since this show began on the evening Donald Trump was elected in 2016.
And yet, as we meet here tonight, there is a growing danger that threatens every blessing our ancestors fought so hard for, struggled, they bled to secure. Our nation is witnessing a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values, and indoctrinate our children. Against every law of society and nature, our children are taught in school to hate their own country and to believe that the men and women who built it were not heroes but that were villains.
Donald Trump is doing what I have been crying out for weeks and months. Strong conservative leadership that recognises just how pernicious and dangerous and successful the left's march through our institutions has been.
The radical ideology attacking our country advances under the banner of social justice. But in truth, it would demolish both justice and society.
With the king, he then made this critical comment.
We stand tall, we stand proud, and we only kneel to Almighty God.
Well, somebody had to say it. Scott Morrison, that might be a line you should think about nicking. The culture wars are real. We are under attack. You can pretend it's not your problem, like Scott Morrison does, or you can run up the white flag like Boris Johnson has. But in the end, the reason the left keep failing in elections is because the great silent majority know, as Trump does, that this is a values and ideas war, and we must win.
Make no mistake, exactly what you've just seen in the United States, the exact same thing is happening here in Australia. Indeed, it's the same people at the top, it's the same people that are doing it. It's a worldwide thing, and if you can watch that and listen to what both Rowan Dean and Donald Trump said, and not be deeply, deeply concerned about yourself, your family, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and ultimately your country, then you're a braver man or braver person, I should say, than I am. Because right now, I am genuinely, deeply, deeply concerned for my nation and for the people I love, the Australian people. There's more, because I believe I have to make the Australian people aware of just how serious this situation is. I mean, I don't blame anybody for just saying, no, she'll be right, or it can't be that bad, because it is so profound. But as I've said now twice, unless people get off their backside and do something, which I'm saying to follow what I'm suggesting, which I'll explain shortly, Australia, as we know it, will cease to exist. Think about that. An old saying, once the fox becomes in charge of the hen house, it can never become the hen house ever again. And we are in exactly that position. Now, I want you to see something else as well, and I beg you, please stick with me and watch this. Listen carefully to what this fellow, in fact, this fellow's name is Tucker Carlson. This is Tucker Carlson.
This is a serious and highly organized political movement. It is not superficial. It is deep and profound. It has vast ambitions. It is insidious. It will grow. Its goal is to end liberal democracy and challenge Western civilization itself. We are too literal. We're too good-hearted to understand what's really happening. Our decency is the mob's main weapon against us. We have no idea who we're up against. Just this afternoon, around lunchtime, an activist called Sean King issued the following demand on Twitter, quote, all murals and stained glass windows of white Jesus and his European mother and their white friends should also come down. They are a gross form of white supremacy, created as tools of oppression, racist propaganda. That's the aim of this movement, of these riots, to overthrow the value, the principle of equality under the law. At that point, the category of hate speech will have expanded to include anything they don't want to hear, and it will be criminalized, a federal offense. You watch. If they can tear down a Lincoln statue because it's racist, they can ban the First Amendment. You don't want to live in a place like that. Who can save us from that? We need help, and we need it right now. These are not protests. This is a totalitarian political movement, and someone needs to save the country from it.
It just turns my heart cold every time I see it. However, it does remind me that the years of research I've put into this and the work that I've put into this confirms to me that this generation of Australians will be seen as one of two things. One, we will be seen as the generation who saved Australia, or we will, two, be seen by all of history as the generation who stood by and watched the destruction of what was the best country on the face of the earth and did nothing to defend it. And I believe they're the only two options available to us. Horrifying as that might sound, I don't believe there's any other alternative. It's up to each of us. Make no mistake, and I put this to you with great respect, our politicians have and will do nothing. The media have and will do nothing for their own reasons, which intelligent Australians will already have worked that out. There are many other groups, and none of them are going to save our nation. It's up to the silent majority, the good people of Australia, and what I would like to say is the fair income Aussies that are going to save this place. There is no other option. I crave your indulgence. I'm going to play you one last video, but I believe it's a video that you've got to see. This is a man who I regard very, very highly, Senator Eric Best. He's a senator in the Australian Parliament. This is a speech, it's very short. This is a speech that he made in the Australian Parliament just very recently. And I urge you, please take careful note of what Senator Abetz is saying to us. It's, as I said, it's only a minute long. I urge you to watch it carefully, and after that I will summarise and end the video by telling you what my plan is. I'll be doing that for the first time. I haven't revealed it before, but I will reveal it after the Abetz video.
This is how our society has progressed and why we are where we are today as a nation, the envy of the world. For all its alleged and real faults, Australia is the favoured destination of the peoples of the world, seeking freedom and opportunity. So much for the celebration of diversity. Everything is judged in terms of claimable victimhood, division and partisanship. The tribe excuses each other and accuses everyone else. The recipe for disharmony, anarchy and societal collapse. The time has come to stand firm, push back and advocate the cause of our wonderful heritage bequeathed to us by our forebears. An heritage of civility, a system of democratic government, the rule of law, personal freedoms and the standard of living, all of which makes Australians the envy of the world.
I know I said just a moment ago that there was only one more video to go, but this one's just been presented to me this morning. The gentleman here doesn't need any introduction. He's one of the most credible people in the whole of the nation, and I believe you deserve to see it. You need to see it. It's only 40 seconds long, so please bear with me again, and I'll come back after this video.
What do you think? I'll tell you what you'd be entitled to think. With militant protests on the street, monuments and statues being knocked down, freedom of speech being destroyed, people terrified to speak out, unhinged, snarling human pit bulls frightening the tripe out of people. Metaphor of all of this are the persistent attacks directed towards Donald Trump, a democratically elected president, and now a virus, ripping the guts out of the economy. You'd be entitled to think there's an agenda out there, comprehensively determined to destroy Western society as we know it. The voiceless need a voice.
I hope that you are convinced that we do have a serious problem, and I also hope with all my heart that you're at a point where you're prepared to act. But I have to ask, how much proof do Aussies need to know before they say we've got to get off our backside and do something about this? I put it to you, that time is now. I don't believe there's ever been a more important time in our lifetime than now. It has to happen. What you've seen is one aspect of it, but also the will of Australians is committed to notifying the Australian people or making the information available to the Australian people about our debt, who we owe the money to, what interest we're paying, and so on. I believe that our country is being flooded with people from all around the world, in an attempt to make Australia a big country instead of a good country, and several people, among them being Dick Smith and myself, believe that a very large percentage of Australians don't want a big Australia at all. We would rather have a good Australia, an Aussie Australia. That's the will of Australians is committed to that as well. We're losing our freedoms. One by one, we're losing our freedoms. And I believe that that's absolutely wrong. We've got to fight for our freedoms. And another thing that I'm personally against is our politicians, not just the current ones, previous ones as well, are just selling everything to do with Australia. Electricity, gas, water, our businesses, agriculture. Just before I get into that very quickly, for the benefit of some Australians, most of you already know this anyway, but all Australian people need to know that Australia exists for the benefit of the people, for you and for me. It doesn't exist for the politicians, it doesn't exist for the corporations, it doesn't exist for minorities, it doesn't exist for international or foreign business people. It exists for you and for me, for the Australian people. We are a democracy, which means the majority rules. The majority has what's known as unalienable rights. In other words, if the majority of Australians, and that doesn't need to be half the Australian people, it just needs to be more people saying yes than no. That's the majority. And that's what I'm asking you. I'm imploring you, please become involved in the will of Australians. Because the majority rules, and no one can take away our authority. Not courts, judges, juries, politicians, prime ministers, police, no one can take away our authority of the majority. So having known that, I hope that what you've seen and what I've just said summarises the function of the will of Australians, and I hope that I've shown you sufficient for you to say, yes, okay, what do we do? What's the answer? What's the action that we should take from this point forward? Which, stand by, I'm about to tell you. Will of Australians invites you to subscribe to 6 gazettes. Each of those gazettes will be focused on one of the problems that we face as a nation and as individuals. That will be emailed to you. You'll be given a little bit of time to read that at your leisure. I will then send you a questionnaire asking you questions about that. For example, do you agree with the immigration policy of our current government? If not, would you prefer this or this or this? All you need to do is go, yes, Les, I agree with that, or it's totally up to you. No, Les, I don't agree with that, and you send it back to me. If at any time you don't want to be involved in this, all you do is you just don't send back the questionnaire, because we only respond to questionnaires that we get back. The total cost to all Australians is $6 for the 6 gazettes. There's nothing else to pay. Your involvement is as a subscriber to those gazettes. But I'm hoping to recruit 1 million Australians, and I'm asking for your help to do so. And I hope you can see from what you've seen before, you can see the urgent need for you to get involved. And in the spirit of that, I ask you, if you're, say, for example, husband, wife, couple of kids that are over 18 years old, Australian citizens that are authorised to vote in state and federal elections, then all 4 of you need to subscribe, because this is about numbers. Your identity is protected your name doesn't appear anywhere, you'll be allocated a number, and you're the only one that's going to know what the number is. So you can't be identified. We think that that's a security measure that probably won't be necessary, but we think it's a good thing anyway. So that's essentially the way it works. You subscribe, go to the website, and I ask you to be patient because whenever we do this, the website goes crazy. So over the next few days, I would hope that you would go to the website. When you get there, it only takes a minute to sign up. You will then receive an interim report plus a bonus, which is a summary of condensed information about our constitution and your rights. Everybody loves the book when they get it. You then would be allocated your number, and then you would get, when we release the first edition, you'll get your first edition of the Gazette, read it, react to it, wait for the questionnaire. When the questionnaire comes along, all you do is say, yes, Les, I agree, or no, Les, I don't agree. Send it back to me if you choose to do so, and I do the work from there. And what I intend to do is, I've got expertise in the marketing area. I intend to notify the world media once we establish a majority in a particular area. I will notify the world media. I will then go to Canberra. I will insist on seeing Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg and other politicians where appropriate. And I will be saying, I'm here representing X number of people, whether it be whatever. I mean, it's got to be a significant number of people, of course. And I'll have the world media behind me. And I'd like to think that you can say, wow, the politicians have then got to do what their responsibility is, which is what we pay them for. If we can demonstrate a majority on any of those given subjects like debt, immigration, freedoms, selling of our assets, or the problems that I showed you in the videos earlier, the politicians have got no alternative. The politicians must abide by the will of the people. It's as simple as that. It's not complicated. It's that simple. It's up to you to get involved. I believe I've done my part. It's now up to you to do your part, and I would hope that I can ask you, if you believe in what I'm doing and you want to be a part of it, I would ask you to assist me to get 1 million people to do what we've talked about, or what I've talked about. And I would ask you to spread this by talking about it, by sending a link to all of the people you know, friends, business associates, associates, and others that you may know. We've got to get the Australian people together to change the direction of this country, because I think you've now seen from the previous video, the direction that we're going in is not somewhere that any of us ought to go. I hope I've made my point. I would sincerely welcome you with open arms. Please get involved. Thank you.